Hello, friends. It's good to be with you as always. Earlier this week, I was reading our local paper, the Star Tribune. This was from Monday, July 27th, in the business section. And there's an article, maybe some of you saw it, on the front page of the business section about ad agencies locally. The headline is ad Agencies Making a New Pitch for Diversity. And right above the main photo for the picture, or the article, is a quote from a local advertising leader who happens to be a member of St. Philip Deacon, Marcus Fisher, who says this: "Making sure that our culture is welcoming and inviting to everyone is important." He's quoted at length in the article as one of many leaders in the advertising industry who are working toward that. And that got me thinking about the question of how does the church accomplish its work? And that's a long conversation, and there are lots of answers to it. But one of the answers is the Church of Christ accomplishes its work through all of you in your daily lives of work. Now, I don't think necessarily Marcus was thinking about that when he gave the Star Tribune that quote, but as a pastor, I see that happening in spades when I see quotes like that, when I see leaders from our congregation out in the world leading enterprises, leading companies, and doing their work well. That is one of the ways we glorify God as Christians. And I want to just reflect on that a little bit today, maybe as a counterpoint kind of to an episode we did last week about, I guess in some ways you could call it the opposite of work, namely leisure or play. So leisure and play, as I indicated in that episode, we'll link to that, are also valued and important in the life of faith. Maybe that's a surprise to some of us. But work, and the work that we do in the world, even if it is not explicitly connected to the message of the gospel, is also one of the ways Christians do God's work in the world. As Lutherans, this is something that we hit hard through what we call the doctrine of vocation. We don't own that doctrine. We don't have a trademark on it, but it is an emphasis of our tradition. And there are a couple of quotes from Martin Luther that are helpful as we reflect on the importance of doing good work again as a way to reflect God's glory. Probably the most famous quote from Luther is actually apocryphal. That means it isn't something he actually said, but it kind of makes the point. And here's that quote. It's, "The Christian shoemaker does his Christian duty not by putting little crosses on the shoes, but by making good shoes, because God is interested in good craftsmanship." Right? So it's the quality of the shoe that matters, not putting a cross on it, right? So again, Luther didn't say that, but that quote comes up a lot, and it kind of communicates part of the point I'm making here. What he did say, though, that's related is about what makes a good prince or some other types of people. He says, when a prince sees his neighbor oppressed, he should think, "That concerns me. I must protect and shield my neighbor. I've been put in this position precisely to do that. I become a prince, or been given the privilege of being a prince by God to protect my neighbor." And then Luther goes on to say, "The same is true for the shoemaker, tailor, scribe, or reader." And you could extend that to doctor, lawyer, accountant, teacher. If he or she is a Christian tailor, he will say, "I make these clothes because God has bidden me to do so that I can earn a living, so that I can help and serve my neighbor." So again, I'm just affirming here and celebrating, I guess, in a way, the work that each of you is invited and called to do in your daily life as a way to express God's glory. And then two other writers who make this same point in a variety of ways in their writing. I'll just lift up a couple of quick quotes from them. One, again, I'm sort of on this Dorothy Sayers kick right now. It seems like every time I open a book by her, she has something to say to us about the particular topic. But she was really passionate about this, so passionate she would almost, I think, talk about work as a sacrament. And she was, again, an author of fictional works and of plays, and she says, among other things, the writer's duty to God is his duty to the work. And she goes on in another place to say, for any work of art to be acceptable to God, it must first be right with itself. That is to say, the artist must serve God in the technique of his craft, For example, a good religious play must first and foremost be a good play before it can begin to be good religion. So again, paying attention to the craft of the work in the same way maybe in the Luther's apocryphal quote about creating good shoes, for a play to glorify God, it has to first and foremost be a good play. The fact that it may have a Christian subject may or may not make it a good Christian play. And in a similar way, the final author I'll quote, I can't remember if we've talked about her before. Her name is Flannery O'Connor. I think I mentioned her maybe once or twice. This is from a book called Mystery and Manners. She's best known for her fictional work. She was a Southern writer, lived in the middle part of the 20th century again. Mystery and Manners is some of her nonfiction work that was published after her death. But in the same way as Dorothy Sayers, she talks about the significance and importance. And by the way, Sayers was a member of the Church of England. Flannery O'Connor was a Catholic. Both of them talk about the significance and importance of doing quality work in similar language. And so what Flannery says is, what is good in itself glorifies God because it reflects God. So again, testifying to the importance of the craft, the quality of the work itself. And then she says, in another way, again, this sounds sort of parallel to what Dorothy Sayers said about plays. Flannery O'Connor says, poorly written novels, no matter how pious and edifying the behavior of the characters, are not good in themselves and are therefore not really edifying, right? So I guess I want to just say to all of you who are out there doing good work, be proud of it. Take it seriously and trust that God is using your good work to glorify God and to strengthen His church, even if you aren't ever using the name of Jesus when you do it. Thanks as always for listening. I hope this finds you well. Stay in touch, and God bless.